Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. And yes, I have a broom in my hand. Gee, we got the sweep done. We got lucky. It wasn't the best odds. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I predicted the toughest games, but I'll give myself a tiny pat on the back. Good to see you, G. How you doing? How was your weekend?
Good weekend, man. I like the way the temperature's dropping. This is my time of the year. I love this cold weather. Let's get it.
Man, I need like 30 hoodies, 40 blankets. My house is on 73 with the heater right now. Oof, I'm bad with the cold weather, bro. I don't know what it is. I'm a real Louisiana guy. What can I say? What can I say? We got a nice show for you today. LSU versus Alabama. A little rough game, but we got some thoughts, some reflections, a little bit of a reaction. Our guy Frank Wilson hit the podium today, shine light on the quarterback situation, and then the Saints got their second dub. They're marching, bro. They're marching. Come on. New Orleans, are we back? No, I'm playing.
Marching backwards.
Let's jump into the Bama game, man. It was a rough one. Like I said, you had it in your hands. You had it, you dropped it, you fumbled it. You had 3 fumbles, matter of fact. You only lost 2 of them. You had a missed field goal. Both run games were about as bad as we expected, G. Let's look at the stats. 26 carries for both teams, 59 yards for LSU, 56 for Alabama. That comes out to 2 yards per carry from each team. If you look at the quarterback situation, Ty Simpson finished with 277 yards, 1 touchdown. Nuss and Michael Van Buren didn't combine for 200. Matter of fact, our guy Grant Chadwick, our punter, he had more punt yards than each LSU quarterback. Again, he's putting some numbers up this year. I can't lie to you. Bama had 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. LSU only had 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and a fumble. Hat tip. Shout out our guy Perk. 344 total yards for the Tide. LSU barely crossed the 200 total yard mark. Same old, same old. Gee, this is kind of the tune that we've been seeing all season. LSU's having a horrible time in the red zone, absolutely struggling. And then when you got Trades Green dropping wide open stuff, it really hurts. Whenever I saw that one, my jaw dropped. I was like, okay, we're really in a bind right now. What was your reaction to what happened in Tuscaloosa?
I thought they played hard. I thought they played with a lot of fight. I thought they played with pride. Of course, the defense played lights out, in my opinion, especially holding Bama to 3 points in the second half with how they've been putting up a lot of points this year. But when you just go back and you look at the different sequence of events throughout the game, it tells you the tell to the story, bro. Like the defense gets a 4th down stop on the first drive, right? Then they drive all the way down the field, get in the red zone, and you got to settle for 3. But Ramos missed the field goal. I thought that took a lot of momentum away from the sideline and just the psyche of the team, right? And I thought the turning point of the game, in my opinion, was when LSU had the ball with like just over a minute. Bama had no timeouts, right? And this is where you know that Frank Wilson and that LSU coaching staff had kind of had enough with Nuss. Being in college for 5 years, bro, you got to know better than to stop the clock right there, right? Take the sack. If you can't get a for sure completion, take the sack, let the clock run out. But he doesn't. But he didn't do that. He threw it to the ground. Bama got the ball back with 50 seconds. They get a long pass to Jeremy Bernard, or was it Brooks? And then 2 plays later, Ryan Anderson for the touchdown. So instead of going down 1 possession at the half 10-3, now you go down 17-3. I really think that was the turning point in the game, in my opinion. I think things might have went differently. I really feel that way, bro. And I thought that the coaching staff lost confidence in us. And look, the offensive line didn't give him any reason to have confidence in himself in that game. You know, he was moving out the pocket when he didn't have to move out the pocket. He didn't climb the pocket, and Weston Davis clearly is showing that he just can't get it together this year, bro. They benched it for Ori Williams, right? Uh, I thought that Ori Williams did a little better job than Weston Davis, but he struggled as well. I mean, the offensive line as a whole, bro, it's been a disappointment, right? And like I don't know if it was Matt Moscona or Scarborough, one of them. They said this is nothing that's going to get fixed throughout, for the rest of the season. This is something that's going to have to get addressed in the off season. Some of it is because they don't have the experience on the O line, and I think some of it is because just the continuity and the the disconnect with the play calling with Joe Sloan early in the season. Now you're going to Alex Atkins. I just think a lot of that just playing a factor into what's going on. But I will say this, bro. when Michael Van Buren entered the game, I thought that was a gutsy call by Frank Wilson. I thought it needed to be done, right? People look at Nuss stats, and I think he was 18 for 21 when he got benched.
Buku screens and quick game though.
Yeah, but if you really watch the game, it was the some of the throws that he missed. It was the some of the sacks that he took. It was the decision making, and
Right.
that's something we've been talking about going into fall camp and before the first game of the season. We wanted to see better decision making from Nuss. And look, to be honest with you, he really should have had an interception with the one in the red zone that Hubbard dropped.
Hmm.
Right, he eyed him down the whole time and threw it right to him. I can't believe Hubbard dropped that ball. Right. Um, but Michael Van Buren, I thought he played really good, bro. You know, besides him not protecting the ball in the fourth quarter when they stripped him, I thought he did really good, dog. You know, he made 3 throws to Baron Brown and Xavier Thomas and Chris Hilton underneath. That was like some NFL throws. He had some zip on it, threw it anticipation. I thought he did a good job right there. But the tail of the tape is the offensive line. Five false starts in the game, and when you have those kind of mistakes on the road, and your quarterback is not playing sharp, you lose to a team like Bama.
And 5 false starts is kind of surprising, G, because I'd have thought it was 1,000. I felt like every single drive there was a whistle blown. LSU had 10 penalties, 74 yards given up. Bama only had 2 penalties. That's a huge deciding factor. Then I want to talk about the play calling element because Frank touched on this in his presser. First things first, you can't just come in, especially at this point in the season, scrap everything. Can't just be like, all right, cool, we're throwing everything out the window. Can't come in with a
Right,
brand new playbook. You're gonna
right.
have to slowly learn and slowly grow. It's not gonna be just a whoop, snap your fingers against Alabama on the road against one of the best defenses, and you figured it out. Another thing he brought up, the called up player headset. That thing is not that reliable. And I got a question for you at the end of it, but he was saying it went out and they had to do signaling at times. And going forward, they want to have the wristband, so it's less signaling. It's more like a number on your wristband, and you don't have to sit here and look at the dance moves and stuff. But I got this question that popped in my head. So the call to player stuff is run by equipment staff and stuff like in the facility. So I think it would be potentially somebody that would be like a at least an Alabama resident. What are the odds here that call to player headsets just magically turn off for the visiting teams when they're on the road? Do you think I'm stretching something or no? There's nothing there.
I think you might be stretching it a little bit.
I'm just wondering.
That's not something I would take too deep of a thought into.
I was wondering because I feel like this isn't the first time I've heard of that. I guess it could be faulty technology, but that's definitely something you got to worry about when you're relying on communication. Because if you can't hear and you don't have those type of wristband signals, which I feel like you should automatically in a case of being proactive, but hopefully going forward they can figure it out. From Michael Van Buren's standpoint, this is obvious. We talked about it, especially going into the week when Frank was saying that he was going to get implemented. You're going to make that defense play entirely different. With Garrett Nussmeier, you saw what was happening against Ole Miss, G. Man, you could put a 3-man front up. You don't have to be that creative. You don't have to rush that many people. I mean, but when Michael Van Buren's in, they keep him honest. He obviously can't run through all those gaps. He might make you pay with the legs. And we saw a couple of nice mobile strikes. I want to ask you though, is this going to be like a battle where Saturday the best quarterback comes out and is the starter for the rest of the year, or do we see a 2 quarterback scheme where Nussmeier's doing the bulk of the throwing and MVB comes in for QB designated plays, the runs, maybe situational moments? Like, how do they balance this going forward? Because this is a confidence thing right now, G. Like, I also have another question too. How do you keep Nuss's confidence at least a baseline level when you're benching them and then starting them? And then benching them and then starting them because it's conflicting signals a little bit, but it's like, how do you handle that as a player? Because it is a business and you do have to produce. So it's a double-sided sword, but also like there's more to meets the eye with prepping a team for Saturday. You got to keep that mental straight.
Yeah, if I was Frank Wilson, and I don't mean to sound like a dickhead when I say this, but I could care less about Nuss's confidence right now. Right, I'm trying to do what's best for the football team. I'm trying to get us going in the right direction. I need our offense to score points and finish the season off the right way. That gotta be the focal point going forward. Would I just completely bench Nuss? I don't know if I would do that. You know, I said this going back to week 1 before the Clemson game. I always thought that Michael Van Buren should have had some packages, you know, throughout the course of a game, bro. Well, you know, whether that's 8 to 10 snaps, 12 to 14 snaps,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to do. I thought he should have. had some type of role in the offense throughout the season, especially when you knew that your offensive line was going to be a question mark. You can even tell when Michael Van Buren got in the game when Bama was rushing, they wasn't just rushing up the field. It kind of was like holding their lane, making sure he didn't, run up the middle or scramble out the pocket. They was staying true, which gave him all the time to be able to go through his progressions and make those throws that he made. And so he just bring a different dynamic. He make you have to call a game different as a defensive coordinator. It makes your D line have to rush differently. He just brings a different dynamic. But I don't know if I would just bust. I say bust. I don't think I just would bench Nuss for the whole season. I don't see what you get out of it. I think you keep both of them and you rotate them and if Michael Van Buren gets in his certain packages and he has the hot hand, then you keep rolling with him. But I wouldn't just say we going straight to Michael Van Buren for the rest of the season unless you feel like Nuss can't handle it. If you feel like he's getting too emotional and he's gonna end up being uh doing more harm than good. But that's a conversation him, Coach Frank, and the rest of that staff gonna have to have throughout the rest of this week.
And now going forward for Arkansas, I know 11 a.m. kick. That's a worry in and of itself. Taylor Green got banged up on Saturday, so it's a question on if he'll be able to play. The the bowl eligibility thing is now going to kind of be a topic of discussion because you're sitting at 5-4. You got 3 games left. Oklahoma. I don't want to be caught on tape here, but I'm just saying I feel like you can scratch that one off. Probably going to have a tough time against that defense, especially on the road. Last game of the year, they got playoff hopes on the line, but we'll get to that point when we cross that. How do you feel about them kind of fighting for bowl eligibility against 2 teams that at the beginning of the season we would have thought were shoe-in wins, but now you're in a completely different spot where it might be a little bit of pressure? I mean, I think they can get to that 6-win mark. You need one more, bro. Like YKU, I'd imagine. I know that they had a nice game against LA Tech with that 2-point to win it, but I just feel like this is going to be an obvious bowl season. However, do you have any worries about that?
To be honest with you, bro, it doesn't matter if they make a bowl game or if they don't. If you an
Back
LSU
in the
Tiger
mail game.
fan, if you an LSU Tiger fan, why would you care if they get into a bowl at 6-6? I just don't, or 6-5. I just don't see what's the big deal. You're not going to a good bowl. You're gonna have a number of kids opting out. It's gonna be a shit show. So if they don't make a bowl game, who cares? If they make a bowl game, I think that does more. The only thing you get out of there is you get to see the young players and see the development of them. That's the only thing you're gonna get out that bowl game.
Going forward, in terms of a staff evaluation, how do you think the team is going to be looked at in terms of guys like Frank Wilson, maybe a Kyle Williams, Corey Raymond, Blake Baker? Do you think that they can have an ability here to kind of set themselves in stone in this building? Or do you think that every single position is going to have a replacement?
I mean, outside of the Vanderbilt game and the Ole Miss game, Blake has had that defense playing at an elite level, bro. Like what he did in Tuscaloosa on Saturday against Bama, I thought that was impressive, especially without a signal call on defense in Whit Weeks, right? You don't have Whit Weeks and you hold these people to 3 points in the second half. You got to give him their props. The thing about Blake, bro, he gonna have his name in the hat for that Tulane job. I think Summerall probably gonna end up getting that Auburn job or the Arkansas job, or
Mhm.
maybe the Kentucky job. So I think Blake is gonna be the front runner for sure. So I think he could possibly not even be back next year. When you talk about Corey Raymond and Frank Wilson, I think them two are untouchable. I think Kyle Williams is untouchable. Um, but I do see whatever coach comes in, whether it's a high profile coach or as a middle of the pack coach, I think they will want to keep somebody like Corey Raymond, Kyle Williams, and Frank Wilson in the fold because why? These are three Louisiana guys that understands the culture. You got 2 of them that played at LSU. You got one of them that's been there for over a decade. You want to keep that nucleus intact for whatever staff you do bring with you.
Yep.
So I think those three will be safe, in my opinion.
And from a recruiting standpoint, like what would you say to the people that are kind of worrying about how it might take LSU a little bit longer to get a coach, especially if you're sniffing around a playoff caliber team who's going to be playing deep into December and you got a short amount of time to be able to recruit, to be able to get guys in the portal? Well, what's your thought process with that?
I said it all along, bro, when they first decided to part ways with Brian Kelly. if you're getting Lane Kiffin, if you're getting one of these coaches that's going to be in the 12-team playoff, man, you got to get something in writing and get a definite answer that they coming, regardless if they win a championship or not. That's the only way you're going to be able to get in the portal and get the right type of players, keep this recruiting class intact with the high school kids. You're going to have to get something like that from one of these high profile coaches. Now, last week, I heard Saban was in Baton Rouge for 2 days. I heard he was down there. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's considering. I don't know if he just came to talk. I don't know. But I know Saban was in Baton Rouge for 2 days last week.
And he was at the game. He was wearing that crimson sweater though.
Mhm.
In the press box at Saban Field. Switch gears real quick before we get out of here. The Saints, G. We started the stream with it. They played the Panthers. They beat the Panthers. Second victory. Every single one that the Saints or the Pelicans get. Soak it up, guys. Tyler Shuck, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. Best game of the season. I can't lie. Alvin Kamara, he played decent. Not horrible, not great, eye-popping. I mean, 22 carries, 83 yards. That's good. 3.8 yards per carry, and that's where it starts to get kind of decent. 2 long passes, though, for Shuck. 62-yarder to Olave, 52-yarder to Jawan. At this point, G, how you feeling about the quarterback situation? Do you think this was a one-off because Carolina's trash, and do you think that there's still a worry at that quarterback spot? Is Shuck your guy, or is this a limbo period still, and nobody needs to be prisoner at the moment?
Number one, Carolina's defense is not trash. Their
Okay.
offense might be a little shaky, but their defense is pretty good. I thought Tyler Shaw had a really, really good showing on Sunday. He didn't turn the ball over. He made some explosive plays. But I think the bigger thing that I paid attention to on Sunday was the offensive line. They protected him, bro. He had a clean pocket a good bit of the day, and which made him be in position to be able to make these throws on the field and be able to go through his progressions. I'm definitely not going to be a prisoner of the moment, right? Spencer Rattler had a few games this year where he looked at just as good. Might have not threw for as many yards and might have not had the explosive play that Tyler Shaw had, but I thought Spencer Rattler had some good games this year too. So I'm not going to get all excited about what I saw on Sunday. Um, you just want to see progression. You want to see him continue to take steps. Of course, Kellen Moore, he quieted a lot of the naysayers. Especially somebody like me, because I thought it was gonna be a shit show, but he proved me wrong. So let's just see if he can keep it going.
Yep. It'll be interesting. And I feel like if the Saints record is at this point, if you're getting this type of production from Shuck, who is at the top of your draft board? What position you go? Let's say you get a top 10 pick. We don't got to get all specific, but who you leaning towards? Not a person, just position group.
Man, I gotta go get the best receiver in the draft, or I'm going to get the best tight end in the draft.
Need
A
a weapon.
pass catching tight end. That's just that's just my thought process. I think that they need to really focus on getting weapons around the quarterback position. You traded away Shaheed. Who knows if Chris Olave comes back? So they gotta make sure they go get some playmakers, man, on the perimeter and somebody with some length and have somebody they can have as a number one receiver in that room.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with that, especially with the offensive minds, man. You're gonna have to
And
add
the
some
whole and the
pieces.
and the whole line is showing you what they could be. They showed it on yesterday, bro. Like I said, because Carolina got a really good pass rush, bro. They really do, and they've been really good all year long. It's the offense over there at Carolina that's been up and down. The offense been,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So, with Caleb Banks and Fawag and those boys, I think that, and then you got to think about this. Eric McCoy didn't even play. He out for the season. So you didn't even have your starting center. So I thought that was impressive on yesterday, how the O-line played.
Who's coming in Trevor Penning's spot after he got dealt to the Chargers?
Damn, I'm drawing a
Because
blank.
that's I don't want to like reach here, but drafting a first round lineman and putting that big of a shot on him, and in a few years it fizzling out, that's a questionable decision. That I feel like
I,
is
and I know it was a different staff, but you can't go O-line in the first round again, bro. We went for Walker first round, we went Trevor Penning first round, we went Caleb Banks first round. I mean, bro, go get you a veteran O-lineman to take over that guard spot where Trevor Penning was playing it.
yeah,
Go get you a number one receiver or the best tight end.
no more O line. I think everybody in New Orleans would. Be pissed. They probably would raid the Superdome if an offensive lineman got drafted in the first round. I can't lie to you.
Hey, I'm
Hey,
gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you somebody I wouldn't mind them drafting in the top 10. I know we didn't say player, but Caleb Downs,
safety.
stayed for Ohio State. I would not be
Yeah.
mad if they drafted him in the first round in the top 10.
I want to ask you this before we get out of here. I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking at Mel Kiper's boards and stuff, just getting a little too early with it. But he had Caleb Downs number 1, Bray Hubbard number 2 in terms of safeties, and he had AJ Halsey number 8. Good spot? Too high? Too low? I think AJ could play.
Halsey, you know, I don't think he's gonna test that well. I know when he was coming in the fall camp, when I was talking to some scouts, they were saying they thought he was a little heavy.
Okay.
So um, I think he would have to test really, really well for him to be, getting that top 4, top 5 safeties coming into this draft. I think 8 is a pretty accurate number, pretty accurate spot for him when you talk about the safeties coming out this year.
And that would be around what, 4th round, 3rd round?
Probably about 4th round, somewhere around there, 5th round, 4th, 5th round, somewhere around there. I can see him going.
Decent spot. I'm about to get out of here. Somebody or I got Damon said, let's keep it going to a 3. We can't, my guy. We're gonna get some extra content for you. We're gonna plan something out. We can't. We gotta get out of here, bro. Appreciate that. We wanted an encore though. G. Everybody saying show must go on. We'll be back Wednesday at 1:00. We got SEC power rankings. We'll preview LSU and Arkansas. I don't know if we'll do trivia. We might save that for Friday. TBD. I'm gonna keep you on the hook, man. Y'all gotta come to find out. Appreciate your time, G. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you Wednesday.